5. I'm Kayla in Seattle, and in Spokane we have Steven. And again, just a disclosure, this meeting is being recorded, so by joining and participating in the session, consent is being given to the recording, and please keep off cameras per the NOAA Privacy Act statement. So we'll just get into current satellite imagery here. Over the area, we have troughing over the Pacific Northwest, so this has been leading to cooler and rainier conditions today, and through the first part of this week. You can kind of see, offshore we still kind of have maybe a hint of maybe some weak ridging kind of nudging in maybe the first half of the week, but otherwise, upper level troughing is kind of dominating the pattern as of current. And along with that, we did have a front move in this morning. So taking a look at current radar here, having some rain showers move through, over our area. It's beginning to, weaken, and heading in eastern Washington, some more rain showers moving in there. There will be some chances for lightning. The better chances for lightning will be with the showers behind the front across eastern Washington and north Idaho. And then again, steady but brief light rain along the cold front. And again, there were some few lightning strikes ahead of the front, but nothing really on our end here. So again, you can see most of the activity is moving out of our area and into eastern Washington. And just taking a look at the 24-hour precipitation here across western Washington, our area here has been received, over an inch of rain, especially along our coast, and even maybe, close to 2 inches around Forks, one of the rainier places, in the U.S. Especially in our interior, we're having, half inch to, maybe a closer inch, especially in the North Cascades there. So quite beneficial wetting rains that we've received. We haven't really received quite a bit of rain in a while. And taking a look at eastern Washington, there is some rain, but again, not as much as on our side. Stephen, do you have anything to say on the slide?
Yeah, just that as that front comes through, we're not expecting nearly as much rain as you're getting over there. There will be some spots that might get a wetting rain, which would be at least 1/10 of an inch, but overall, this isn't going to give us much of a wetting rain.
Thank you. Just taking a look at our fire weather summary, I'll kick us off for Western Washington. So like I said, today we had, potential wetting rain, especially, over our coast and our Olympics, where we do have some active fires going on over there. So, heading in throughout Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll start to dry up a bit and having some weak ridging influence our area. So it'll be warm and dry Tuesday and Wednesday, but temperatures don't seem to get quite as warm. We're still looking at seasonal temperatures in our area, but again, we'll have some dry conditions with not really much precipitation in the forecast. And then as we head into the later half of the week, on some uncertainty regarding the pattern, but for right now, we're still looking at seasonable temperatures and not really seeing any indication of a warming and drying conditioning on our end. And for Stephen, I'll pass it for you for Eastern Washington and North Idaho.
All right, yeah, thank you, Kayla. Yeah, so over on our side here, as you mentioned briefly a few slides ago, we do expect to have some thunderstorms developing in the area behind the front in the afternoon, and that will be mostly across northeast Washington, but also into North Idaho. So we'll have some lightning with that. It is going to be a breezy day, but the relative humidities will be up quite a bit than it was yesterday, but elevated fire weather conditions just to the lightning and not seeing as much rainfall with these, the precipitation like you are seeing there on the west side. So it could be a potential for some new fire starts there. Still a little breezy tomorrow up the Okanagan Valley, but not nearly as breezy as today. And for us, Tuesday into Wednesday, we'll be warming back up again, drying out. There'll be some of our warmer days. Again, maybe not quite as warm as what we've seen, but it'll be getting pretty close with that ridge kind of building back in. And then Thursday, Friday is taking a look at some of our model guidance here. And I do see a potential that we'll see winds a little bit breezy. It'll definitely be quite dry. I don't think the winds are going to be reaching criteria to reach critical fire weather conditions, but enough that I put an elevated risk in there for those days. And then let's go ahead into the next slide. I'll talk a little bit more about the lightning. So this is what we're looking at for our elevated fire weather conditions for lightning today, and the zones colored in yellow there, mainly between 1300 to 2000, with the Northeast Washington, seeing the better chances, 25 to 30%. And because of those increased chances up there, that's where I would think that we see better chances for more scattered lightning, isolated or scattered cloud to ground lightning strikes. That would include 699 into zone 700 there. And thunderstorms would be capable of some outflow winds along with the breezy conditions today. Up to 35 miles per hour is sort of what I'm seeing. Could see some small pea-sized hail in there too. And then the rain could be fairly heavy under the cores, but they will be moving fairly quickly. So I would think the heavy rain that comes with it would be fairly brief. Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate it. So moving to hazards here, not much on our side. I see there's an air quality alert. Stephen, if you want to speak to that or if that's still ongoing.
Yes, that is ongoing. That was issued yesterday by the Department of Ecology, and it's until further notice. I would think that the smoke will be improving a bit today with some rain and the wind. But then since we're heading into kind of a warm, dry pattern again, I would expect the fires in that area to pick back up and have some more smoke production. But it is in effect until further notice for now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So just heading into weather, we're going to highlight day one max T's. As you can see across the area, especially with that front moving through, temperatures quite seasonable, especially on the west side here. We have our maximum temperatures, in the 60s, so it feels fairly nice over here. I haven't, seen mid 60s in a little bit. And then on the east side, still a little bit cooler with temperatures, in the mid to low 70s across most of the area. Taking a look at min RHs here on our side, recoveries have been doing pretty good in the mid 60s, and especially in our Cascades, getting that onshore flow and wetting rains. On the east side, there's some dry pockets here. Stephen, do you want to speak to any of this?
Yeah, sure. A little bit dry there in the lee of the Cascades, but this is quite improved from yesterday where we saw minimum RHs in the mid-teens. So we're talking about an improvement of 15 to 20%. And then you can see with the rain more into extreme eastern Washington, North Idaho, I mean, we're going to have a hard time even getting below like 55%. So it's going to be quite a moist day, especially for us east of the Cascades.
Awesome, thank you. And then going into wind, not much wind concern on our side, but you can see, especially, through the gaps here, getting some little breezy winds, especially in eastern Washington right over here. Heading into probability of thunder, like Stephen was mentioning earlier, with this area up here in eastern Washington, 25% chance over there. On our side, western Washington, there is a chance of a convergence zone later today that might form. We might get some convective showers and maybe a chance of lightning a strike here or two in there, but otherwise not really a concern for thunderstorms on our side. But I know for eastern Washington, the area like you highlighted earlier, Stephen, that's the area of concern over there. And then we're going to jump to day 5, just showing kind of that warm trend that we were talking about earlier. On our side, again, temperatures for us in the low to mid 70s, and in the Cascades, maybe reaching around 80 there. And I know eastern Washington kind of getting that warm and dry, as Stephen mentioned earlier, with temperatures, in the mid to upper 80s there. And then hitting the RHs, you can definitely see the difference of what we're trying to talk about with the warm and dry. So for our area, western Washington, again, fairly good, but getting quite a little bit low in our Cascades, in the 30s, South Cascades there. But then, heading on the east side here, Stephen, do you want to talk about this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to show Thursday just because that seems to be sort of our warmest, driest day again as we head into next week. The Wednesday will also be quite dry. There could be some pockets there, especially in the basin, the valleys, into the teens. But we're looking at right around the upper teens to low 20s for those couple of days there as we warm up and dry back out again.
Awesome, thank you. And then here's the wind for Thursday as well. Just along with those, warm and dry conditions, you might get maybe just a little elevated wind. But again, it doesn't look like wind might be a concern right now, but just kind of keying in on those higher values there. And then let's see. ahead to QPF. So just for day one, highlighting again the sweating rain that we received here. Mostly, in the next day, kind of having, those cascades, getting, some beneficial rain again, not enough right now, but again, it's the more that we've seen. So it's quite beneficial for us, having those rains around and having that front kind of move through, especially for Eastern Washington, like you said, having those, wetting rains and higher cores on that side. And then we'll hit the trends here. So for on the west side, the main thing that I really want to convey, looking at the Fire Training Academy here is, again, having those relatively good RH recoveries over the next several days, and then those warm and dry days that I mentioned on Tuesday, Wednesday on our side. RHs kind of get low, in the 30s here, and the temperatures, warming and drying into the upper 70s there. But then kind of going on to later on in the week, we kind of have those RHs getting better and those temperatures kind of moderating out. So again, not much concern for us for the fire weather, but again, Tuesday, Wednesdays will be the days that we're warming and drying, and we could see those, that activities on some fires maybe activate again. And then on the east side, let me just try to write this one.
So the first one, Eniat in the
Oh,
Cascades. Yep, there it is.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, so the main thing here is the wind for today is going to be quite a windy day, but you see those relative humidities or the minimums are going to be fairly elevated. And then the trend as we go into next week, you'll see that warming trend. Now for us, our warmer day looks like it'll be more into the Wednesday and maybe coming down a little bit on Thursday. And with that, you can see with the winds kind of bumping up a little bit. But not really reaching a threshold that would be a concern for critical fire weather conditions, more of an elevated fire weather condition threat there. So the main thing, a warming, drying, and a little bit of wind starting to get introduced towards the end of the work week. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the next one at Kettle Falls, just because we do have some active large fires there as well. Same sort of trend here, but you can see not quite as windy. They seem to be a bit more sheltered in there with those westerly winds, but it'll be the same trend with the temperatures getting back into the 80s as we get into that Wednesday and Thursday time frame. Relative humidity is getting back into the low 20s there, and you can see a little bit bump in the wind there too for Thursday and even into Friday. Where you can see some sustained winds in that kind of 5 to 10, and maybe a little bit of higher gusts for the exposed ridges. That's all I had to say. Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks, Stephen. And we're just going to hit the optional. We're going to go to the clusters here. Just wanted to point out some uncertainty in the next weekend time frame. So starting at day 4, kind of see that ridge maybe starting to flatten out. But as we enter into day 5, day 6, and day 7, we kind of have some uncertainty here as we can see maybe upper level troughing kind of enter in next weekend, which could introduce, more showers and more thunderstorms. But again, how quickly that ridge flattens, or if, the ridge does decide to stay there longer, could keep some more warm and dry conditions, for next week. And so you can kind of see the uncertainty here is some of the clusters have that upper level troughing just kind of moving in, and some of the ones in the middle here have that ridge kind of staying around for a little bit longer or flattening a little bit slower. So again, some uncertainty for next weekend, whether we get more showers, more thunderstorms across Washington, or if we get a little bit, hang on to those warm and dry conditions a little bit further. Stephen, do you have anything to add on this?
No, yeah, you said it great. The main thing is that what we're seeing is a more amplified pattern there with that trough that Kayla was mentioning offshore, and then the ridging with the axis kind of a bit more off to our east. But as you can see in the different sort of ensemble clusterings there is some differences as far as the timing of when that trough would come in, and that would bring more precipitation potential for thunderstorms, but also could be some wind in there as well. So just something that we'll have to kind of monitor, but there could be some changes as we go into the weekend and early next week.
Awesome, thank you. And just one more thing, just the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So you can see, valid, and through, October 4th, we'll be seeing a little bit above normal temperatures. But again, looking at the precipitation, half of the state at least will have on our side, maybe some above average precipitation. So could be leaning, again, these are taking the clusters into account, maybe could be leading into maybe more wetter pattern next weekend. But again, this could change, with those clusters and the uncertainty for next week. And so definitely keep an eye on that. But for now, let's enjoy the rain today and hopefully that, warm and dry doesn't really get too warm and dry through midweek. So this will be the end of the fire weather briefing. So we're going to go ahead and end the recording here, and then we'll open the floor